In just about a week, Bitcoin price increased by over 25%, and it is quite exciting. There's a lot of excitement about Bitcoin right now on Twitter and other social media, and I think it's time to have a look at Bitcoin and see if this excitement is warranted. Is it time to jump in full retard mode? So let's have a look at some of the finer details. From the perspective of cycles, I see a couple of scenarios here. One scenario is where Bitcoin has finished the previous cycle at the end of December, on the 30th of December, but that scenario is not extremely likely. That would give us a relatively short cycle lasting for only 39 days. Usually these Bitcoin cycles last for about a couple of months, so a 39-day cycle would be perhaps the shortest cycle we have seen in at least a couple of years. Although historically, going back a few years, I think we have seen some cycles as short as 39 days, so it is possible, although not very likely. So that would give us a cycle lasting for 39 days, meaning that we're now in a new cycle which is relatively young now, at less than 3 weeks old. And as these cycles usually last for a couple of weeks, we have a lot of time within this cycle left for the cycle to give us some sort of a bottom, perhaps in the next few weeks, before it drops down into the cycle low. This, while it's a more bullish scenario, is slightly less likely in my opinion. Again, that's because of the relatively unusual duration of this cycle. I would perhaps give this scenario a 35 to 40% chance. If this scenario is to play out, then as we've reached this resistance zone from the previous high in early November around $21,500, that would likely give us a bit of a short-term consolidation lasting for a few days, perhaps down to that round number of $20,000 before the next push higher towards that cycle top. A more likely scenario, though, is that the cycle that started over here around mid-November is still continuing, and it's still only 56 days long, which is still slightly less than the usual duration of around a couple of months. That means this cycle has likely topped over here again, near this resistance zone around 21,500. That's from early November high. We see multiple pokes above very wide Bollinger Bands, which, as I've mentioned many times in my previous videos, do indicate some sort of a at least short-term reversal in the trend. And we see RSI extremely overbought, all the way above 89 a couple of days ago, which is actually the highest that RSI has been since the beginning of 2021, when Bitcoin price was doubling anywhere from under 20,000 to over 40,000. So we are now quite overbought, and a couple of red candles are likely indicating a bit of a decline into that cycle low perhaps over the next couple of weeks. Perhaps a likely support zone for this decline down into the cycle low is based on a couple of these September-November lows and more recent mid-December high that's somewhere around $18,000 to $18,400. Again, as overheating technicals suggest, and the alignment with the usual cycle duration, perhaps stretching to close to 80 days or slightly below that, I would give this scenario 60 to 65% chance. Talking about overbought technicals, let's have a look at this interesting technical indicator, which is the amount of short positions versus Bitcoin. And of course, usually these short positions move in the opposite direction to Bitcoin price itself. At the tops over here, for example, as in November 2021, nobody is short Bitcoin. Everybody is expecting Bitcoin to go all the way up to $100,000, so there are almost nobody that are short. And when price has been dropping for quite a while, as in summer 2021, for example, everyone expects Bitcoin to go all the way down to, say, $10,000. So everyone is short. We see peaks forming over here on the shorts chart. And looking at what's happening right now, we see that the number of shorts has actually declined quite a lot over the last week and over the last couple of months as well. And at least over the last couple of years, these relatively low levels on shorts do come pretty close to local highs. Again, suggesting that perhaps a bit of a consolidation in Bitcoin price is likely. Also aligning with this second scenario, perhaps having 60 to 65% chance. And lastly, I want to have a look at this Bitcoin Optimism index, which has peaked quite high as well at over 87 right now. And again, it's at record levels all the way since the second half of 2021 at the peak of this bull run to over $60,000. But what we want to notice over here is that while Bitcoin might be close to a local top, it might still push higher for a couple of days. As since, say, middle of 2021, when this Bitcoin Optimism Index topped 8 times, these optics tops coincided with the tops on the price level only a couple of times, as in September last year and in March, while in most other times we see that the price actually tops a few days after this Optimism Index tops at over 85. So while I do expect Bitcoin to perhaps consolidate down into this cycle low, it might still push higher for 1 or 2 days. And despite this expectation of a bit of a cool down, perhaps all the way down to $18,500, I do have positions in Bitcoin and some other cryptos as shown by the model portfolio at myfinancesteacher.org. Perhaps you might want to join us for a wealth of additional information on a range of assets, such as monthly uranium reports, which are definitely some of the best uranium reports out there. By the way, thank you for your comments, Oscar Mike. I'll publish a new January report perhaps in the next week or in the next 10 days or so. And I'm not sure yet if I will make it public for the viewers on YouTube or leave it just for the members at myfinancesteacher.org. For a sample, see my December uranium report as a public video on YouTube. Have a productive Monday and bye-bye.